Good evening. Before I start with my review of Spider-Man Far From Home, I just want to touch on the issue of spoilers. This is a big thing now in the age we live in with the old social medias, because in the past, hashtag the past, if you went to see a film, the most spoiling you could do would be going into school the following day or into the office and going, "Oh my god, I saw Jurassic Park yesterday and it was amazing. There was all these dinosaurs." And I mean, let's just take a moment, because actually I think Jurassic Park came out in July. Well, it did come out in July of '93 when the school holidays had started, so you couldn't go into school and spoil it, but you could totally go into the office and spoil it. And people could just do this, don't tell me I haven't seen it yet. But the problem with social media is people put their opinions up there and you can see them. You can be scrolling through your Facebook and it can say, "Oh my god, I can't believe Cersei did that to Jon Snow." And you go, "But I haven't watched that one yet." So it has become a real spoiler. A real problem has spoilers. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because there was a huge thing back in April. It had its own hashtag, and it was hashtag "Don't Spoil the Endgame." Well, April, May, June, July. We're 4 months on from Endgame now, and I still don't know if it's okay to talk about what happened. Does everybody know? I'm not going to talk about what happened at the end of Endgame, but as I'm here to talk about Spider-Man Far From Home, which is after the events of Endgame, it's difficult, and I'm going to have to skirt around it. We're 2 minutes in, folks, and I haven't even started talking about the film. So, this film does indeed take place after Avengers Endgame. And I believe this is the start of Marvel's Phase 4. Endgame brought to a close Phase 3. And first and foremost, this is a Spider-Man movie. And for that reason, I loved it. And in that category of a Spider-Man film, it's great because it's fun and it's colourful and it's funny, and it just really ticks all those lovely boxes of what a Spider-Man film to me should be. It also has emotional heft, and that's Peter dealing with the fallout from Endgame. And it's also Peter dealing with this real conflict between, I'm a 16-year-old boy in high school and I'm a superhero. And sometimes those two things conflict. And actually, while we might go, "Oh my god, it would be amazing to be a superhero," I don't know what that voice is, but apparently it's the vibe tonight. We all think, "Oh yeah, it'd be amazing to be Spider-Man, or to be Black Widow, or Iron Man." But actually, if you're 16, maybe all you want to do is spend time with the girl you like, or go on a school trip with your friends. So that is the premise of this film. Peter and a handful of his classmates are on apparently a science trip around Europe. Not a lot of sciencing takes place, because the trip is interrupted by the arrival of one Mr. Nick Fury, and also a new hero on the block who goes by the name of, well, ends up going by the name of Mysterio. That's a tiny little spoiler, I suppose. So yeah, you've got, returning to the role of Spider-Man / Peter Parker, you have got Tom Holland, who is, in my humble opinion, I think the best Spider-Man we've had. And I know people have affection for the Raimi, Tobey Maguire era Spider-Man films. The first two, maybe, certainly not the third. Nobody likes the third one, not even Tobey Maguire. Especially not Tobey Maguire, I'd imagine. And then you had the two Andrew Garfield ones, and I think I saw the first one but not the second one, and I'm kind of a bit indifferent to them. But Tom Holland, to me, brought a freshness and a youth that had been missing from Spider-Man. Spider-Man's supposed to be young. And maybe comic book aficionados will watch this and argue with me and go, "Well, actually, in this version of the Marvel Universe, the blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah." But to me, Spider-Man should be young, and he should be fun, and he should be a kid. And for all Tom Holland's in his early 20s, he plays the awkward, shy, geeky Peter beautifully well. And he's also a great hero. But I love watching him as Peter. I love watching him interact with MJ, who's played by Zendaya. You've got Ned, his best friend, and I love the interactions between them. And Jake Gyllenhaal joins the cast this time around. I mean, there's a whole other video in my feelings about Jake Gyllenhaal. I have been in love with, I mean, I say that in the sort of fan movie star sense, like I'm not a crazy person or anything, but I've had a thing for Jake Gyllenhaal since Donnie Darko, and I saw Donnie Darko in 2002, so 2002, was it 2001? Maybe it was 2001. Either way you slice it, I've had a thing for this man for 17 or 18 years. I think he is magnificent. I think he's one of the most beautiful humans on the face of the earth, and he is insanely talented, which he proved in Donnie Darko, and has just built on ever since. And he's played a really wide variety of roles, and he's played some really dramatic roles, and actually it's quite lovely to see him here flexing his superhero chops and just getting to have some fun and play the hero and, you know, wear a cape, and he does it also beautifully well. There's a really lovely interplay between him and Peter, and I thought he was a really solid addition to the cast. I was always like on board when I saw he joined the cast. Yes! Two of my favourite men in the same film. I mean, men, Tom Holland, technically, but like I say, early 20s, and far too young for me to find attractive. But I do. What are you going to do? But yeah, Jake for me, all the way. So it's a proper Spider-Man film. It's got adventure, it's got laughs, it's got Fav. Jon Favreau returns to the role of Happy Hogan. And I love the fact that the whole MCU phase 1 started with Iron Man in 2008, I nearly said 2004, in 2008, and Jon Favreau directed that, and then he's still in this one all these years later playing the part of Happy Hogan. So I really enjoyed having him back. Marissa Tomei's back as Aunt May. I've kind of got used to her now. I'm not her biggest fan, and initially I was a bit like, why have they cast her? She's too young. But I think you just kind of have to roll with it. So it's enjoyable, warm, funny, lots of action, looks great. There's some wonderful Spidey sequences where we see him whipping through buildings like that. I'm gonna regret that little whip thing I just did, but you know, here we go. So yeah, you get to see him being Spider-Man, you get to see him wearing different suits, you get to see him wrestling with, you know, being a hero, being a normal kid. It's sets up beautifully another film. There are 2 end credit sequences, so do stay put. There's one quite early on in the credits, and then there's one right at the end, so far in that you think there's not going to be one, and then there is. I don't feel this has been my most coherent review, but it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm tired. But a big thumbs up for me for Spider-Man Far From Home. Looks good. I enjoyed the locations. One of my beefs with Men in Black International a few weeks ago was that I didn't like that they'd taken it international, because I wanted it to be in New York. And actually with this, even though Spider-Man is very much New York, I enjoyed seeing him in different settings, and I enjoyed seeing him around Europe, and I think that was done really very well. So a huge thumbs up from me. It was nice to be back in the Marvel universe after the emotional trauma of Avengers Endgame. It was nice to be back in that world, and with a lighter, more fun film that's still, like I say, packed a real emotional punch at times. So if you're a Marvel fan, you're going to see it anyway, and if you're not, then you probably won't. And if you haven't seen any of the others up to this point, I mean, you could get on board now, but being the purist that I am, I'll go back to the start. You've got a bit of catching up to do. Anyway, that was Spider-Man Far From Home. This is me in a car park saying goodnight, and I'll catch you all soon. Katie out. Bye-bye.